Chef Haley, what's up?
Hey,
how you doing?
Katie.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. Sorry, Jesus Christ.
That's
gonna
okay,
get me all
it's
fucked
okay.
up. I was just talking to Haley from Nice.
That's okay. That's
and
okay.
she's in New York. I'm sorry. We
All
were
good.
talking
We were
about
talking
New
about New
York.
York, yeah.
Jesus Christ. Katie. Green's Restaurant.
Yeah.
What's up? The
Hey.
emotional owner, as you were just saying.
Emotional owner. Yeah.
Are you stressing right now? It's open currently. To like right now.
Oh yeah, they're open. Yeah, it's dinner time right now.
Do you worry while you're away?
Not anymore. Not really. Sometimes when we're doing like big numbers, like sometimes we'll do over 350 covers for dinner, and
Yeah.
it's like, what the fuck? That's busy for us.
Yeah.
So if there's only one sous chef, I'm like, oh my God, are they okay? But for the most part, like we have really good staff. I have almost no turnover, which is great. So the team like really knows what they're doing. It's not like I always have to retrain and
Okay.
get people used to numbers and stuff. So I trust them. Yeah.
I love that. How long did that take? Do you think for yourself? I'm sure they were
Yeah.
fine before you were fine, right?
Yeah. That's kind of a loaded question because Greens is actually 45 years old.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's an old ass restaurant. It's
Okay.
probably one of the first, if not the first, vegetarian restaurant in the United States, which is really sick. So like, I always tell people that our black bean chili recipe, like you may think it's just any old black bean chili recipe, but that might be the black bean chili recipe that started it all. You know,
Yeah.
like we really pioneered vegetarian cuisine. So when you say like, how long did it take for people to get used to everything? Like there's a guy in my kitchen who started before I was born.
So he's known owners like since he's like, don't worry,
yeah.
I'll see the next owner.
He's literally been there since, I don't know, I think he's been there like 34 years, something like that.
Do you find that he's trained you on things while you've been there, like as an owner? Like he knows
Yeah,
more?
I mean, I started at Greens 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
I started in 2015. I was 21 in culinary school. So I was at CIA, I was doing my externship. And at the time, I mean, kind of my whole life I was interested in food because I'm from like an Italian-American family on one side and then a Ukrainian family on the other. So I have a lot of food culture. I'm from the suburbs of New York. So always around like really good food, lots of culture. I was always interested in it. But a lot of like what got me interested in cooking was like making stuff healthy. I was an athlete, that sort of stuff. So at the time when I was in culinary school, I was kind of going back and forth between vegetarian cuisine and, what's healthy, vegetables, farm to table, was not new, but it was very big at the time. And I was 21, right? So I was just like, all right, how the fuck do I get away from my parents and like explore a little bit? So I landed in San Francisco, interning at Greens, and I met my husband, my now husband, my second week.
Shout out to your husband. Fuck yeah.
I know. Yeah. We got married like a year and a half ago, but we met like my second week into my internship, and
He's also a chef.
No. He was in the film industry. He recently transitioned to do like security system installations.
Yeah.
But yeah, we met there, but yeah, so the healthy eating kind of brought me to Greens initially, and I never left.
Hey,
Basically.
you gotta love it, baby.
Yeah.
So you're born in New York.
Born in New York.
And what did your parents do for a living?
My mom, so my dad was, he's in the utilities business. So he would like sell natural gas and he was like in companies like that. His company that he was helping to run got bought by Hess.
Yeah.
Actually, like just as an example of like the kind of, I don't know, companies that were with him, but he's still doing that. And then my mom is a graphic designer. And so I was super, super fucking lucky growing up with her. Like I can't even deny that she was just super cool. So she worked from home, which is awesome. She always had a garden. She's like the mom who crochets. You know what I mean? Like she crochets, she cooks, she has art projects all the time. We used to cut out like little felt bats around, you know, Halloween, and we'd hang them up on like fishing wire. Like she was like that crafty, like cool mom who wears flannel and Converse. Like she's
interactive,
super,
baby.
super. Yeah. Hell yeah.
San Francisco and New York over there.
Yeah.
All right.
So like her gardening like really influenced me too, because like the spring would roll around and we're planting fucking bulbs and like I'm chasing chipmunks as a kid. She's picking snails out of my hair. So like,
there you go. Wild growing up over there.
Yeah, it was really cool. So like between like the big fat Italian family, the like gardening and seasons and just kind of like being surrounded by food, I just after like totally fucking up some time at Cornell, I dropped out and basically was like, what do I do with my life? And landed at a bakery, just like trying to figure it out, bide some time. I was like, oh, I've been baking my whole life. I could do this while I figure it out. Yeah. 3 months into that, I was like enrolling in school and in culinary school and getting my shit together.
You went to Cornell. What was that about? What degree did you go for?
Yeah, so I actually started there. I was on their crew team, so I was rowing. Big time athlete.
Cal practices right there.
Yeah. Oh, sick. That's awesome.
Get to watch them in the morning.
That was super intense. And I was studying nutrition. And I liked nutrition. I've always been interested in like exactly like what the like nutrients are in each food to like, I've always loved making menus. I've always like planning like what to eat. And when I first started cooking as like a kid, I mean like 13, 14, I would like, I'd want to make fettuccine Alfredo, like the easiest thing ever. Right. But I would try to like make it healthier. So instead of heavy cream, I'd use like evaporated milk or something. That's like kind of how I started experimenting. But yeah, so I was in the nutrition program for just about 3 semesters. And then I realized like, I really don't want to do clinical. I was like, hate chemistry class. I wanted to be in those nutrition classes where I was like learning the cool stuff, right. Doing clinical things. And I was so over like liberal arts stuff. I just wanted to like be hands-on. And then I had an internship with a nutritionist over a summer. Yeah. In that first freshman summer. And
you're like, fuck
it was so boring. Oh my God.
What were you doing?
I was just like doing paperwork for her and interning and like, depending on the client, like they would let me sit in and listen to the sessions and just kind of like learn what, the nutrition coaches do. And I was like, man, this sucks. Right. It was cool to like know the information, right? Like I've just found out that like kiwis are like super good for your gut microbiome, and I'm still interested in that kind of stuff, but like I don't want to like sit behind a desk and tell somebody to eat fucking kiwi, Like I want to make something with it. I want to like figure out like what it goes with and make a recipe. So that's like I started to do that more hands-on stuff and still be able to, find the things that I'm interested in, like while working with my hands and with people, in a much faster pace too.
I know. Yeah. Just sitting there being like, eat kiwis. What about kiwis helps your gut bio?
I don't know. I listened to it on a podcast the other day, and
so it wasn't even during your sessions. It was during a podcast.
No, it was still like during a podcast.
I thought that was like one of your.
No. I just learned this like yesterday.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. And so you're a dietitian. And you're like, fuck this, I'm bored. Yeah. But you're still driven by the food. You want to be in food. That's very cool. Back to rowing, because I'm interested in what I see. There's like 50 people on the fucking team. Like, how does that work? How does that work?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Yeah. There's different boat sizes. So I was in an 8 boat and a 4 boat. So that's 8 rowers, but then there's also the coxswain, which is the little guy who yells at you. Yeah. How do you get that job? You got to be real tiny, man.
Really?
Just real tiny.
But you never rowed, right? Because you're not made for that part of it. Or are they rowers?
So usually for rowers, like you kind of want I guess it depends on the seat that you're rowing, but like you kind of want to be like tall. And strong,
tall and slender.
Yeah,
that's the way I see the athletes coming out of that gym.
Yeah, usually. So right, so it depends. Like there's like the middle seat. So if you're in an 8 boat, like the 4, 5, 6 seat, which is like kind of towards the bow of the boat, those guys are like usually like big, stocky, like they have like real serious power times. And then like the bow seats, which are the 2, they're technically the first 2 seats, but you row backwards. That's why you have the coxswain. Okay. Because they're facing forward to like tell you what to do because you can't see where you're going.
Right.
Yeah. So the bow are like all the way in the back, and those guys are for balance mostly. And then the stroke seat, which is what I rode mostly, is the person who sets the pace. So I was the person right in front of the coxswain.
So you have a fucking megaphone in your face.
Yeah.
And they're just like, bop, 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 bop. Can you understand what they're saying? You can probably hear their real voice.
Yeah.
Behind the megaphone.
It's kind of like weird and rumbly, actually.
Yeah.
Like they're like, row, 1, 2.
Oh, there's it's like very Viking.
Yeah, it's very Viking. It's very like, yeah, it's super weird.
Is there any rituals you guys do like outside of just rowing the boats? Is there any like special ceremonies or that have to do with like, you know, the history of rowing, since you're saying that people use that cadence kind of thing?
Not really. I mean, there was like definitely some ceremony, like when we would do certain like exercises, like we would do 2K tests. So you like the rowing machine that's at your gym that you strap your feet in, and there's a slide and everything. That shit's in the boat too. Like you move in the boat.
Oh.
Yeah, so your feet are strapped in. So that's like legit what it's like, kind of. I mean, the oar is different because the oar is wood. And it's slippery as fuck. So, and you're not allowed to wear gloves because it's seen as like having an advantage.
Really?
Yeah. So, like your hands would be like all like totally calloused and torn up. Like I'd have like blisters that will like started like in my palm and like went down to like almost the center of my palm. Like
just
they were
huge.
So huge. But then you get used to it eventually. But if it's like snowing or raining and you got to grip the oar harder, and like it could like tear up your hands even if you do it a lot. But anyway, the 2K tests, like at least in Cornell, not in like my high school, because we had like 3 ergs in high school, but like at Cornell, like there's like probably 30-50 rowing machines in this one room. It's the erg room. And then like you'd all sit at the ready, and then they'd say like go, they'd get you to, you know, start rowing, and we all like start at the same time, and then you kind of like count down to see who finishes first. And it's just like a whole big thing. They put music on really loud, and you're just like pulling the shit out of this machine to get like the fastest time you possibly can. So there's like some ritual that way. Saturdays we had like specific runs and stuff. We'd like row 20,000 meters and then run up a fucking mountain. Like it was like some pretty intense shit. Yeah.
That's cool though. You do you still have friends from that era of your life?
Not from the rowing team, but I do have one close friend left from Cornell. She actually lives in Connecticut. So,
there you go. Shout out CT. So you bounce out of school, and when you tell your parents that you're like, I'm not interested in Cornell, are they supportive? Are they like, come back home, it's all good? Or are they like, what the fuck?
They were kind of more like, what the fuck? Yeah. I was always super smart. I mean, like I got into Cornell like partially probably because of the rowing, but I also got like, I had a 4.0. I was, you know, they wanted me to be a doctor or just something that used my big brain. You know, they were like, you're so smart, do something with it.
Don't fuck this up for us.
Fuck this up.
I didn't raise you right for no reason.
Yeah, I know. Hey. Well, you know, Mom shouldn't have cut out so many little bats for
exactly right.
To, like, make me too creative. But
so Cornell rowing. Does CIA have rowing? No rowing. So you left rowing. You're like, I'm leaving this too.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it was hard, you know. I actually my main sport for the longest time was basketball. I was like nationally ranked. I was on travel teams.
Damn,
I was, like,
for real?
Yeah.
During school? During college?
No. Like high school. Like middle school to high school, I was like traveling all over, playing in like invite only like camps and stuff. But and I was starting to get some college recruitment letters like sophomore year, but I just like I wasn't vibing with the team, and I was just kind of like, kind of over this. It was like, I don't know, it was like a little bit catty, I guess. I don't know. I was just like a little over it.
Right. You're like, why am I doing this?
And I did volleyball too. I was also on the varsity team for volleyball, and that's actually how I got to rowing at Cornell, because I went to the athletic office and talked to the volleyball coach, and I was like, hey, do you need a lefty offside? And they were like, oh, we just filled your position like a week ago. Do you play any other sports? And I was like, well, I row. Yeah. And then they were like, what's your 2K time? It's like 7 minutes and 36 seconds. They're like, okay. That was like it. That's like how I got on the team. Like, I swear to God, that was super random. But
There you go. They already knew you had it in you. You know, they're like, if she tells the right time, she's got it.
Then I dropped out.
I know. They must have been upset with you too.
It's okay.
Coach blowing the whistle
I'm sure
in
they
your
got
face.
over it.
I know, right? They found their next prospect and they're like, that.
Yeah.
So you go to culinary school, CIA, Hyde Park, I'm sure.
Hyde Park.
How was it? Did you love it when you got there?
I actually did. Yeah. I mean, I was like, I talk lightly about Cornell, but I was depressed as fuck, man. It sucked when I was there.
Yeah.
It was cold. Everybody wanted to like study through dinner. So there was, it's just, I don't know. I never like got the vibe there. I know a lot of people, including the friend that I still talk to, they like loved it and graduated and it was all good. But it was a really, really rough time in my life. So when I started at CIA, it was like finally everybody around me was in the same mindset. Everybody was like trying really hard. Everybody liked working hands-on. Everybody liked pressure. It was just really refreshing. And I think like that kind of like was when I started to like lift out of this really deep depression that I was in my early 20s. And then by the time I got to Greens, obviously, things were like,
I'm good.
Yeah, pretty much.
What is the structure of the CIA? I've asked a few people, but just for the people who listen, didn't go. I went to Johnson & Wales. So it was cool. Academics for 2 weeks or for a semester, and then you went into labs.
Yeah, so CIA, you actually have, so when you're in fundamentals, it's the whole first semester.
Yeah.
And you're only in the kitchen I think you're in the kitchen, oh my God, maybe I'm misremembering, it's 10 years ago, but I think you're in the kitchen only a few days a week. And then the other days you have academics. And then once you finish fundamentals, then you're in the kitchen 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And you still have some academic classes, but it's not that bad. Like you might have like a nutrition class or, whatever, like food safety. That's where like they literally give you the class that you have to take to get your Serve Safe certification. Like it's easy shit. And then you rotate every 3 weeks because the admissions are rolling, which is pretty cool about that school. So after fundies.
So rolling means like one person will come in and take a course and then bounce?
No, it's like every 3 weeks a new class starts. It's not like semesters.
Got it.
Yeah, so every 3 weeks you would switch to a new class. So you'd do like high volume production, a la carte, banquets. Basically like you do fundamentals to learn your basics. Then you go to like service styles, and that's your first year. Yeah. Basically.
I know they have a restaurant and that, that gets served, but what do you serve the high volume production to?
To the students.
Got it.
So like if you, that's basically your lunch. Like, what the menu is for each classroom. So you'll just line up outside that classroom right before their like service hours. Right. So that's how the class gets to experience what service is like because they're getting orders from the kids.
Do you do dining room classes as well?
Yeah, all of that stuff is year 2. So between your first and second year, after you learn all those basics, you go out on an externship, and that's a 16-week thing.
Where did you go?
Greens.
Okay,
yeah.
That was okay. Got it.
So that's how I found Greens. That was my externship site. So I did all that. Then you have to make like a whole binder. You have to write essays about it. You have to do food costing analysis. Like there's a whole thing.
It's a real hectic one.
Yeah.
Johnson & Wales are like, just show us your time card. That's it.
No, we had to do like this whole thing. You get graded on it. Yeah. And then you start year 2, and year 2 is when you do like pastries, and then you learn cuisines of the world, basically. So you have an Americas class, where you do not just America, but you do like Caribbean and Central South America and that sort of thing. And then you do cuisines of Asia, cuisines of the Mediterranean, and then your last semester is Restaurant Row, which is those restaurants that serve actual
Got
people.
it.
So it's actually pretty cool. Damn. Yeah, it's a quick 2 years. I know some people say you can learn without culinary school, and I think that's legit, but I really love classroom settings. Like I said, I've always been like really book smart. I like patterns. I like to like watch somebody do something and then like repeat it myself. So it was a really good way to start, having not had restaurant background. Like I was in a bakery, but I learned to hold a chef knife in school. Yeah.
That's legit.
Yeah.
And you
Plus
went
I got
to
Greens.
There you go. You went to culinary school with a fellow chef podcaster, correct?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Who was that?
What podcast? I was Line Cook Thoughts.
The Line Cook Thoughts. There we go. You said virtual. How do you what do you think about virtual versus live?
This is hella cool. Yeah, right? I got headphones on.
There you go.
I got a mic.
It's legit.
It's so cool.
Say anything. Externship at Greens. How did you even find Greens from New York?
So there's like a whole like database that you can look through.
Yeah.
And my friend, I didn't know what the fuck to do. I was really interested in Blue Hill at Stone Barns because that's in Tarrytown, New York, which is like literally 15 minutes from where I grew up. But then I kept like going back and forth. I was like, I don't really want to stay in New York. Like I've never really traveled. I want to go far away from home. So I was kind of like trying to figure it out. And then my friend Rosie, who was actually going to the restaurant at Meadowwood, she suggested Greens.
Oh shit, Rosie?
Rosie.
Holy fuck,
friend
dude.
Rosie.
Damn,
so
I remember.
All of this is so like beshert. That means like it's so like meant to be.
Yeah.
Like, she suggested it. I did no research. I emailed Annie, who was the chef for 38 of the 45 years we were open, and I was like, "Can I extern here?" And she was like, "Okay."
Okay. And so, what did your parents think about you're going to San Francisco? Are they like fucking? This is it.
Yeah, I think. Well, they didn't know I was moving there permanently at the time, like because I did come back to New York to finish my school, but I think they were like, all right, at least you're happy now, like you found your calling. So they were really supportive of it at that time. I think they got like a little bit skeptical in the middle of the externship when I started really dating Jesse seriously, and they were like, oh boy,
what's gonna happen? You're like, you better finish school.
I remember my Aunt Rosie being like, my Cali girl, you're never coming back.
That's that New York shit right there. That's so funny, dude. I fucking love the Northeast, man. Like the vibes, the fucking the directness of the communication is key.
She was right though.
Yeah.
I moved back to California on my graduation day.
Damn. Yeah. So your parents were like, "Oh, dinner, plane, see you later."
My parents were like, so my mom was like trying to be cooler about it for a while. She was like, well, what am I gonna do? You're 21. You do what you want, you know. And
then she was like, I don't want you to go.
I know. Well, she would like every time I would like either leave or come in on the airplane, like she would just be crying. Like, just like, oh my God, you're leaving already. Or like, oh my God, I miss you so much. You know? And then my dad for like 10, I'm not 10 years. I've been here 10 years. My dad for like probably 6 or 7 years was like, well, whenever you move home.
Oh, right. Now he's like leave, let it go.
I'm not.
Do they come visit?
Yeah, every once in a while. Yeah, my brother was just out.
Dope.
Yeah.
What's your brother do?
My brother's an EMT.
Oh, wow. Yeah. In New York?
In New York. Well, New Jersey. Hackensack.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hackensack, New Jersey. Love that. Dope. Shout out to your brother. You know, EMTs. Did you move to San Francisco?
I moved to, I actually moved to Pinole.
You moved to Pinole.
Pinole.
Did you think that was like super close to San Francisco? Because I did the same thing.
No. It's actually funny because Jesse and I had an argument about that. So when we met, he was living in Oakland and I was living in San Francisco when I was doing my externship. So I was taking BART to him like all the time. And then by the time I was moving back, he moved to El Sobrani. So I wanted to be like kind of close to him, but like somewhat commutable to, right. And also I was 21 and broke. So like up there is cheap as fuck to live. So even with the commuting costs, like it was fine to live there.
Worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. The fucked up part is that I basically bounced around between like Pinole, Hercules, and El Sobrani for like the last like 6 or 7 years before I finally moved to Mill Valley 2 years ago. So I was commuting like for hella long, and that took a lot out of me.
Yeah, that's heavy, man. Coming on that bridge. You know, I took the ferry. And just going over the water, super zen. I had the best days of work when I took the ferry.
That sounds super nice. I work nights, though.
Yeah, I know.
It was so rough.
When you first started Greens, you were at nights?
Yeah. I was actually at nights, like, pretty much up until, like, maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah. When you first started there after you got back from your internship, were you like, I'm staying here, or was your plan to be like, I'm going to work here for 3 years and then go somewhere else?
Actually, I guess I could admit now that when I was trying to move back here, I was like, fuck Greens. I'm not going back there. I'm going to try to find another restaurant to work
Okay.
at. But then I gave that up really quickly.
Yeah. Why were you saying fuck greens?
Well, you know, like there's this kind of like, I don't know if it's a misconception or if it's just like what people are taught in school or whatever. But when they say that when you're a young chef, you need to like basically move restaurants every year or so.
Yeah.
Right. That's crazy.
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically the premise is like you learn from as many people as you can.
Right.
Before you're ready to like take on a leadership role.
Yeah.
Right. Fuck that. Like I found like Greens was perfect for me. Like, right. It was so great. And then when I finally did decide like, you know what, it's going to be really hard to find a job across the country and just, you know, without having to fly back and forth and whatever, like I know Greens, like let me start out there. And if I end up wanting to move somewhere else later, I can. But by the time I got back, I had remembered what I loved so much about it. And that's like how community driven it is and how like great the working environment is. That I like totally forgot about it. Like that I was even going to move somewhere else. Yeah.
And then you're like, I love this. And you had your husband, you know what I mean? You you had everything kind of like set. Who was your chef?
My chef was Annie Somerville.
Annie Somerville.
She was the chef for 37 years.
Okay.
So there's only been 4 chefs, including me, in Green's history. All female, which is sick. So Deborah Madison, you may know her name. She's a huge cookbook author, really influential vegetarian wizard. So she was our opening chef.
Really?
Then Annie took over, and she retired in 2018.
Okay.
And then once Annie retired, there was another chef, Denise St. Ange.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She's super cool too. She was only there for, I think she was just shy of 2 years, and then the pandemic hit and some changes were made. And then I was rehired as the executive chef after the pandemic closure. And before that, I like was, you know, promoted as sous chef and stuff. So I worked my way up. And the pandemic was just kind of that like perfect time to take over, I guess.
Okay. So you're taking over. You have made it. You have achieved executive chef. Were you like, did you feel that at that moment? Because I feel like it passes a lot of chefs by. You know, you're like living your dream, and then you don't know that till after. When you look back, you're like, wow, I had it really good. You know.
No, I know how good I have it for sure. Yeah, especially because at that time, that was like 4 years ago. So I was there. I was already at Green 6 years, and I've known the team forever. There was kind of a rough transition from line cook to sous chef.
Yeah.
Because I was also really young at the time.
So you're managing older people that had probably been there longer?
And they've all been there longer, right? So that was like a little hard for some of the other line cooks to be like, well, this bitch is, you know, she's now my boss.
How did you get past that? How did you do it?
Just like working really hard and leading by example, honestly. I don't think there's a better method than that. But yeah, they got used to it and it was all good. And I think going to executive chef was, I mean, besides being in the middle of a pandemic, it was an easier transition because people had already seen me as an authority. And I was basically running the day-to-day operations in the kitchen at that point.
Yeah.
And the pandemic kind of was, you know, obviously horrible, but it was a good time actually for me to take over because I couldn't come back with a staff of almost 100. Like we had pre-pandemic. I started with 7.
Whoa.
Yeah. We treated it kind of like a startup.
Yeah.
So Greens is a huge restaurant. If you've never been there, it's like over 200 seats. It's huge, very well known, high volume. So it's not like super fine dining. We say like upscale casual.
Yeah.
So like turn times for a 2-top, maybe like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So we're like really turning and burning. Even brunch, like you'll get somebody out of there in 45 minutes. Like it's like a lot of volume. We did 700 on Mother's Day brunch. You know, it's like busy.
Yeah. 700 on Mother's Day brunch.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to hear nobody else talk fucking shit unless you've done more than 700 on fucking Mother's Day brunch. Yeah. People bitch about 150 covers on Mother's Day brunch or 50 if you're, you know, more of a tasting restaurant. But still, that's crazy.
I know.
You saw 300 mothers?
so many mothers. So yeah, I guess so. Yeah, a ton.
I think you're saying there was one per table. You know, I don't.
Yeah, you should see like some. I do a lot of collaboration dinners, and a lot of my chefs are surprised at the numbers that we do. But
yeah, that was Spencer did one, and I'm sure
did.
that was the first time he'd ever done 200 covers for his
250.
250. Yeah. God damn.
That I felt a little bad for that one, to be honest, because Greens is a really big restaurant.
Yeah.
So we kind of don't make money unless we have at least 200 covers. So, like the collaboration dinners don't always get to that number. That's like very busy.
Mm-hmm.
And very busy for chefs who aren't used to volume. Yeah. So
he's number one. Yeah. Number one podcast.
Yeah. He literally is like the busiest. Brandon Jew is also really busy, and Alice Waters was really busy. Yeah. But and a lot of them are really busy, but he was the busiest in recent memory, and I just remember feeling so bad. Like I was like, this is gonna be a breeze, you're not gonna have to do anything. And then I was like, well, we're at 250 covers, so you might have some stuff to do. And we were like kind of running around for a little bit, but I think like all the guests were super happy, and that's like really what matters. But it just kind of felt like one of those moments where it was kind of hard. But
I see you. We did that to Sean Brock at Charter Oak. We invited Sean Brock over. We did like 550 covers or some shit. Some like broke our record. Never had done this. It was probably the worst service I'd ever seen from the kitchen side. Like the kitchen wasn't like clean until dinner was over. We just brunch was because he had these biscuits and they were made a la carte. My sous chef at the time, Eloy, never made one biscuit in his life, and that day he made like 900 biscuits because like the way that Sean Brock is, like you got to mold it and basically get it right and bake it right away, and if it's not right he won't bake it. So he'd be like, all right, here we go, and be like, nope, you got to make more. And so he would make more. So, we did 550, but he made 900 fucking biscuits.
Oh,
and
my God.
He's in the butchery room. The entire room is like dust. Just like, I go in there to ask him a question. He's like, don't talk to me. And I'm like, okay. It's just like.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Dude. And then it was so bad. And I knew it was bad because homeboy left. He didn't even fucking say bye to anyway. He just bounced, and I'm like, I felt so bad. I'm like, chef, we can't invite fuckers over here to just do so many covers,
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It is really exciting. My collaboration dinners do come with a warning label now that it could be super busy. Mm-hmm. There's like a whole list of things that I send out. So my next collaboration is actually on January 30th.
Okay.
With Lion Dance Cafe.
Fuck yeah.
Super excited. See why I was just in the kitchen this morning.
Yeah.
We're just finalizing the menu. It looks so fun. But we just go over equipment. Like I don't have a deep fryer. Greens used to be like more healthy, sort of whatever. Now I do more like, I just want to make good vegetarian food. I don't really think about health as much,
right.
But, I just bought like 2 little tabletop deep fryers.
Ooh.
Like little babies. I could fit like 2 Chili's rellenos at once, like literally, like it's 2 peppers.
It's the Walmart one.
Yeah,
exactly. Hey, the house. Hey, that one gets it done.
Yeah, little baby guy. It's like $80 on Webster.
Yeah,
like super tiny.
I would rather that than the big one.
Oh, really? Well, I guess it is like pretty easy to clean.
Yeah, the big fryers are. I mean, they're a hazard.
True.
How many times I've opened that drain and like, oh, somebody left it on. It's hot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
It's just like, and I remember too, like you fill up the 2 5-gallon buckets, and then you're walking, and there's mats, and you're like fucking, trying to get out to the dumpster.
For sure.
So I'm like, we gotta figure this out. I don't understand to this day why when they build kitchens they don't put like an oil thing in the kitchen where you can just dump oil down it.
Yeah. Maybe you can be the first.
Fuck yeah. Stock systems.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Systems. Yeah, systems are a big thing at Greens, actually. It's such a big restaurant,
How many sous chefs do you have?
3.
3 sous chefs.
3
okay.
sous chefs.
And how are their tasks broken up?
So I have an AM sous chef who's been there 20 years.
Okay.
And he runs pretty much all the prep. He does the soup, he does all the veg stuff, whether it's on the prep list or not, he's looking at everything and he's getting it done. So he's great. Love Sergio. Shout out to Sergio. And then Mariano has been at Greens on and off over 10 years. He was actually there before me. Yeah. And then he took a break and now he's back. So he's my PM sous chef. He runs service. He's more like 2 to 11-ish. He comes at the same time as the line cooks, but he gets all those extra projects done. And then he expos service. All my sous chefs expo. Okay. So I don't have to really be in service anymore. And then my other sous chef, she's actually in Singapore right now. She's my executive sous chef, and she does like prep lists. We have a master ingredient list because we have so many allergies that come through the door. Yeah, so we write down all the ingredients. That's actually something I started as a sous chef, but it's very helpful for the server. So she keeps up with that now. She helps me with like communications with our events department. We have a big events department. Yeah, basically just, helps me with recipe development. All my sous chefs help with the menu if they're interested. They don't have to, but we do have a menu calendar that we all work off of.
And the events, is it off-site or mainly on-site? Is it a PDR?
Yeah. We have a PDR that seats 50. We can rent out our outdoor pavilion, which seats 70.
Okay.
Huge pavilion. That was a big boost to our covers post pandemic.
Does the PDR go out into the pavilion? Okay.
Well, like kind of like there's like a back door, but it's not like, it's kind of icky. I don't really,
Okay, I see.
They have to walk past our like propane tanks. It's not great. And then you could do a full restaurant buyout too.
Okay. Yeah. Got you.
Yeah, we had a Star Wars themed birthday yesterday, so like Darth Vader was like walking around the dining room. Yeah, it was really cool. I got married at Greens. Yeah, I had a full buyout a couple years ago.
Fuck yeah. Dude, you love Greens.
I love it.
That's amazing. Yeah. A lot of chefs get to the pinnacle of their career and then they're like, I don't like this, So I'm happy that, you found what you loved early on, which is also challenging for a cook. Like you said, moving year to year. When you're thinking about that and you got like, you make friends and then you got to go somewhere, like that's difficult. Yeah. I did 5 years. That was my thing. Stay at a place for 5 years.
I like that. I think like there's some ups and downs to staying at a place for so long. Part of it is like, you don't get to meet as many people and you don't get as much experience with other chefs and personalities. I think like that was a big driver of why I started my chef dinner series. Yeah. Because I just wanted to learn from other people. Like Greens takes a world approach to the menu. So I was like, well, there's so many amazing people in our community that could like not only just teach us stuff, but also give something to the Greens guests while also, cross promotion is so big nowadays. Like you kind of have to do so many things, right? Like you got to be on Instagram, you got to have events going on. Yeah. So I love inviting people to the restaurant because I like to do their food through a Greens lens. Most of the chefs are not vegetarian. So it's like a cool challenge to have them make something that's completely vegetarian, but still their cuisine. Okay. Which is kind of the whole point of the Greens menu, right? Like I have stuff from like Northern Africa to Korea to the United States. Like the menu's all over the place in a fun way, but
all vegetarian.
All vegetarian.
That must be so not easy, right? Because not easy, but you don't have to worry about meat.
Yeah.
Fucking that shit is so hard to deal with, and fish especially.
Yeah.
Shit going bad. You're not into fish?
I just hated scaling fish because when I had my fish class in culinary school, like I was finding scales everywhere for weeks.
Yeah, like, yeah, that's so how annoying. It is. Because leaving on your skin, you'll be like, "What is this?" It's like comes out. You're like, "What the?"
It's so complex though. It's not like here's your steak and a potato. Yeah. It's like here's your. I just put a dish on the menu. It's risotto, like a green risotto stuffed in a phyllo roll that we deep fry and then we serve over a bed of like brothy beans. Yeah. Like nobody. I don't know. Like who's like wrapping up risotto and frying it? Like, I don't know. It's just, you have to, I feel like you got to kind of go like an extra step. And then you also have to think about umami a lot. That's actually how I met the Shared Cultures team. Okay. So I was trying to develop a vegan fish sauce, and they had a lion's mane mushroom miso at the time. And lion's mane is kind of scallopy, right?
Yeah.
So it has those fish qualities. So I just messaged Elena on Instagram, and I was like, "Hey, can I try some of this?" And she's like, "Okay." Who are you? Like, what restaurant are you from? I was like, oh, I'm from Greens. Nice to meet you. And now she like comes over to my house for Christmas, and like she's one of my best friends.
Cool.
So
yeah, one of the best companies in San Francisco.
they're so
Shout
awesome.
out to them,
yeah,
they've really
super cool.
grown. I mean, over the last couple of years.
Yeah, they just got their own warehouse. They're amazing.
Yeah, shout out to Kevin Gondo. He made this happen.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. He's like now he just sends me who he wants to listen to. It's because he listens to every episode. So he's like,
oh my god.
He can imagine that though. Imagine having control over your favorite podcast. I love it though.
I was listening to Elena's podcast episode with you, and you were like, "Shout out to Kevin. I like his mustache."
That's right. He did. He had a mustache at the time. He doesn't have it anymore.
God,
I don't think.
It made me laugh. I don't think so.
No. He shaved it off.
Yeah.
I mean, all I know is dude's probably got the strongest back in San Francisco.
Yeah.
From fucking lifting up all those miso buckets.
Yeah.
You know.
They're amazingly athletic people.
Dude, they're always running and fucking going on trails and shit. They live that life.
They do.
You know, and I'm really proud of them.
Yeah, same.
They're in
great.
what are they in? Bernal Cutlery as well. Their products.
Yeah,
you can get them there. Also, Fishwife. I've been into that.
Yeah,
too.
I think Tokyo Fish Market in the East Bay. Also, yeah, they're all over the place. I just bought 200 pounds of miso from Elena, so you can get it at Greens all over my menu. But that's what I mean, though. Like miso builds umami, so it's not like I have steak and fish and things that already have those like strong amounts of glutamates already in it. I mean, mushrooms, sure, tomatoes, whatever, but you got to do something to it, right?
Yeah.
Like you bite into a fresh tomato, savory steak, kind of like filling your cheeks. Is not the first thing you think of. So for a vegetarian menu, you kind of have to be not only thoughtful with the composition of the plate, but you have to kind of think of what is going to make it savory. Like I have a mushroom Reuben that I do in the spring. Sometimes we ferment our own sauerkraut, and fermentation is one way to add a lot of umami, whether it has miso or not, just anything fermented is really, really rich. And then those mushrooms, what do you do to those mushrooms to like get them even richer than you want? I basically just dredge them in like a spicy oil, and they're oily. Like when you almost like oven fry them. But those are like methods that you develop as a vegetarian chef that like, I don't know if I would have thought of that the same way if I had come from more of a meat background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you eat meat when you're not there?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And people are sometimes surprised by that, but I think it actually helps give me some context.
Yeah.
And I know like the comparison. Sometimes I don't know. I don't want to like talk shit, but sometimes you get like somebody who's been vegan for a super long time, right? And like that's awesome, great for the planet, good for them. Like whatever floats their boat, but I think they kind of like lose some context of like what like good food actually tastes like, what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah, you go.
It's
a palate is a learned thing, so
Yeah.
if you're not eating that stuff,
right.
I know people that are vegan that if they eat meat now they'll get sick.
They'll get sick. Yeah, for sure.
So
but at Greens, probably more than 90% of the guests that come through our door are not vegetarian. So if I'm like this vegan chef and I'm vegan for a million years and I don't remember what ice cream tastes like, and I'm like, oh, try this vegan cheesecake. Like people who actually eat those things might be like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not good. So because I eat meat and because I eat cheese and dairy and all these things, I think it actually helps give me context of like how to veganize things in a way that tastes good for people who are omnivorous. So Greens is kind of like the vegetarian restaurant for people who aren't vegetarian.
Okay.
And we do like a lot of vegan stuff. Like almost everything on the menu could be made vegan. I'm not trying to talk shit about vegan diets. Like I do it every once in a while just to kind of like reset. But yeah, I think just having context is helpful for my menu planning. Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys eat meat for staff meal?
No.
Oh.
No, it can't be in the building, actually.
It can't be in the building.
No.
Is that the...
That's a Zen thing.
It's a Zen. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about that. The Zen Center.
Yes.
Zen Center owns Greens. They started it all those years ago.
1979.
How are they integrated in your day-to-day?
I'd say mostly culturally at this point. They don't really do anything operations wise too much. Like they're not in the building every day. You know, I do have check-ins with them. But that's kind of where like that emotional ownership comes in, because I kind of act like a CEO or like an owner. So, you know, I am the executive chef, but I also run the entire operation. So I'm the one who's like ordering, you know, like new chairs or like, you know, I just deal with all of the things that, you know, an owner would typically deal with.
Yeah.
There's like a little extra challenge in there because we don't have, like, they're not big investors, like they're a nonprofit.
Right.
So a lot of places will have money. We do not.
You got to hustle.
Yeah. If I want new chairs, I got to make money for new chairs.
Right,
and, and it's a big restaurant. So if you don't fill those seats, like you lose money really fast. So it's always like trying to, you know, that's where chef collaborations come in too, because 45-year-old restaurant, how do you stay relevant?
Yeah.
And you know, Annie, the chef before me, she was so wonderful and she pioneered like farm to table. And a lot of people say that she's Alice Waters who didn't want press. Like if Annie wanted press, she'd be like basically as famous as Alice Waters. Like that was, like, she's so important to that growth of farm to table. But, you know, it was just time to like change the menu, you know, like it was time to get a little bit more modern. It was time to revolutionize things. And that's actually one of my challenges is how do I keep the menu greens while making it modern?
Yeah.
Because like, I don't want to do a buffalo cauliflower wrap because I think we're a little too fine for that. And I don't want to I'm definitely not doing vegan meat. It's totally not us.
That's
our whole
nasty.
thing. Yeah. It's not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And, our whole thing is celebrating vegetables. So like when I'm building the recipe, like I'm not thinking like, oh, how do I turn this meat dish vegan or vegetarian? That's not what I'm thinking about. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, there's artichokes. What am I going to do with these? I'm going to make a tagine all about these artichokes. Or like, I'm going to say like, oh, baby carrots are in season right now. I'm going to grill them and then serve them over a sauce made from the tops. You know, like it's always carrot tops are just
esoteric. You're so fine, chef.
I mean, honestly, I hate carrot tops.
Yeah.
But
they're only good for like 3 days in the beginning of spring, and after that, they're not good. You know?
Yeah. But anyway, my point is that like we go from a vegetable first. So I'm not using like vegan subs. We try not to use stuff that's even processed or anything. So I know there's a lot of vegan cheese out there now that's like not as like plastic and scary as it once was, but we still don't do stuff that's like not as good as the real thing or the dairy based thing. So it, you know, and even the deep fryer, it took me 3 years to buy a fucking deep fryer because I was like, well, we've never had one for 40 years. We really need one. I don't know. Right. And then finally I decided like people can go down the street and get vegan fried chicken. Yeah. I might as well give them crispy shit.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So like there's been some modernization, but it's always a huge
Was
like
the Zen Center like, is that a fryer?
No, you know, I think.
What do you think you're doing here?
I always have good conversations with Zen Center. Like they, you know, I have to make a case sometimes, but then, you know, I feel like they're usually like cool and they come on board. Yeah. Like even music in the dining room is like a mindful eating Zen thing. But like, who gives a fuck anymore? You know, no offense, but like. Nobody's coming into my dining room thinking of the Zen Center anymore. Right. They're coming to the dining room to look at harbor seals and eat good food. So like, not that Zen Center doesn't matter. Like they're definitely still a very important part of our story. The kitchen culture and just the restaurant culture is so driven by Zen Center. We owe like everything to them. But if we want to stay a relevant business when there's so much competition and also not just competition, period, vegetarian vegan competition, We got to stay relevant. So now we have conversations about, well, maybe we can have some music every once in a while. So there's just conversations that happen, and they're usually really amenable to anything that we need to do. But yeah, in terms of the menu, I think there's the main parameter is like obviously stay vegetarian and don't do fake meat. Anything else I could kind of modernize, but I still am wary that there is 45 years of history and I can't just turn it into like Katie's restaurant and alienate 45 years of guests.
Definitely not.
Yeah. And we serve like over 120,000 people a year.
Jesus. Is there still people that have been coming there for like 20 years?
More than that, yeah.
Wow.
I actually invited a couple regulars to my wedding because like they come every week. They come like
every week.
Every week. I had some regulars that used to come on Sundays when I worked Sunday brunch. And then when I became the executive chef, now I work Tuesday to Saturday. So they changed their day to Saturday so they could see me.
That's
like,
fucking crazy. Yeah. Dude.
I know.
That's, you know, sometimes I think you've done the most important job, and it's that, giving a personality to the restaurant, because
Thanks.
I feel like a lot of chefs, oh, I'm just in the back, I'm just whatever. And we don't hire maitre d's anymore. Really, right?
Yeah.
You just have a host. Here's the table, boom, here's your server. The maitre d', I feel like, is very underutilized, and now the chef has to be that person, or the GM, whoever. Yeah. But they need to feel like someone's there for them and someone knows them. You know? Yeah,
that's a huge part of Greens, actually, is the legacy of it and how people come to see certain people. Like my servers have a lot of our regulars' phone numbers.
Yeah.
I remember, you know, a few weeks ago before the holidays, this one of my servers came in and I was like, "Oh, hey, Braden, what are you doing here? I thought you were off today." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, but Trish is here. She has a Christmas present for me." like Trish, the regular, is here for like, so my team is just coming in to see people. Like it's very
that's cool.
It's really
that's
cool. Yeah. There's so many people that come through the door that I wish I could meet everyone, but
do you have new employees coming in at all?
Here and there,
because you don't have a lot of turnover?
Kitchen, rarely. Rarely.
Do you do internships?
Occasionally.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple CIA. I've worked with Sprouts chef training a little bit. You know, interns are you got to be really driven and you got to be really ready to work in a high volume kitchen. And I'm not downstairs anymore. So you kind of have to like sit with a sous chef or with a line cook and learn hands-on. I feel like sometimes people expect to kind of like learn from the chef, and
yeah, definitely.
That's not like realistic. I'm an office person. I do the budget, you know, and I do go downstairs for like menu development and like just I taste the food every day. I still make sure that it's working, but mainly like my sous chefs are driving the day to day. So yeah, we do some interns. I haven't had really any turnover in the last couple years in the kitchen. Like sometimes, you know, like I had a dishwasher go back to Mexico and he was like, "Here, my brother, he's going to work for me." And I was like, "Okay." Like, what's up, dude?
He's going to take over for the next 10 years.
Yeah, he's still there. Yeah. He's like
hey.
Super nice. Yeah. I love my kitchen staff, man. I learned Spanish for them. You know, they invite me to like their kids like communions. Like it's such a family. Front of house had a little bit more turnover after the pandemic. There's still a few like core people, but a lot of people moved away. A lot of people were here on visas or, you know, whatever. So that turned over a little bit more. And we also had some like leadership turnover post pandemic. So I think we're finally in a good place. But we don't have a traditional GM.
Okay.
So we had something like a GM, and then he left a year and a half ago, and then we were never able to really like find a great replacement or somebody that like we really like loved. So that's when I actually started taking over the operations of the restaurant, like only about 2 years ago. So now my I have a director team. That's how we decided to do it since Greens is so big. So I have an events director. I have a front of house like service director. I have a beverage director, and I have like an HR like operations person, administrative,
Mm-hmm.
and me, the executive chef. And then there's like, trickles down from there. There's about 70 employees right now. So we all have our own departments, but we organize it that way to just kind of like, divvy up the tasks and it's more manageable. But the service director she only just started a few months ago. Like our servers were like, it was like Wild West in the front of house for a little while. So now that Claire has started, she's doing an amazing job and she's so patient and kind and she's really great. She's got a lot of experience. So she's kind of like, it's now settling now that she's here and we haven't really seen too much turnover with servers, but yeah, still a little bit of new stuff in the front of house. Like you'll see an ad for like hosts or, servers here and there from Greens, but I haven't posted a kitchen ad in years.
Yeah. Where do you post?
Usually Craigslist.
That's where you find the best help.
Yeah. So, but I've had success for management on Culinary Agents too. Yeah.
Okay.
Culinary Agents is great for managers. Not so much like line cooks or like servers, but
do you use recruiters?
No, I haven't used recruiters. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had weird experiences with that. I just like the times that the jobs have worked for me are when I get them myself and not when it's a recruiter based thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like too, we're like ending up in the Rolodex of these companies who are showing you off to clients, even though you may not be searching. But since you're on their roster and they have your resume and they have your contact, they'll be like, we've worked with these chefs.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so like chefs better be careful out there and make sure that when they talk to recruiters, like there's some kind of paperwork being signed because you are giving those people personal information,
Yeah. I never even thought of that.
Yeah. I mean, I just recently dealt with it a couple of years back. And it's just like, I think if you really want a job, go for it. And like move to the place, fucking show up and be like, I'm here for this job, because a lot of people, I think, underestimate the value of that, and they're like, well, my resume is, it's like, it's a piece of paper. Yeah. Really, when you look at it.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what it says on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You got to hustle, man.
Yeah. How do you hire? Do you look at resumes? Do you have them come stage?
I usually look at resumes first and then just do a stage for one day just to, see how it goes. And then once we onboard them, they just train with a partner for a couple of days and then we let them loose.
Let them loose on the 700 covers. My goodness.
It's not so bad.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Or lunch and dinner?
Lunch and dinner, brunch on the weekends. Yeah.
7 days a week?
6. We're closed on Mondays.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. But there's always, something going on too. So we have a supper club. We have, which is just starting for January. We have chef collaboration dinners. I have a cookbook coming out in April.
Hell
Super
yeah.
exciting.
Shout out to you. Fuck
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah,
all greens.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So Seasons of Greens.
Seasons of Greens.
April 22nd. So I've actually pulled back 3 of my chefs this year for the chef series. I usually do 6. I'm doing 3. And I'm replacing that with Seasons of Greens dinners. So you can come and like have the meal
cookbook.
From the cookbook and you can meet me and, I'll
That's
get a signed
fucking
copy.
cool.
So I'm excited about that.
So who's putting it out? Who's the company you're working with?
It's Weldon Owen. They're local.
Yeah.
And it will be available anywhere. So it's already available for pre-sale on
Got it.
all the platforms. Omnivore Books is the local probably the best bookstore to do it locally. This is super crazy, but like cookbooks, your sales towards bestseller lists. So if you buy from an indie bookseller, like an individually owned bookseller, like Omnivore or Book Passage or like those smaller bookstores, they count as 2 sales to Amazon's 1 sale.
What?
Yeah, it's a huge deal. So if you buy my book on Omnivore, they still ship, but it's an indie bookstore, and then it counts as 2 sales for me.
Is there a list of indie bookstores that this is like you can find a website for where like lists the places that this happens, or is this just like because you wrote a book this?
Because I wrote a book, I know this.
Right.
Like I was talking to like the publishing team that's helping me market
There you
everything.
go. So all you chefs out there in the Bay, get your books at Omnivore, and it counts as 2 sales.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Get on those bestseller lists, man.
Hell yeah, baby. So, did you always want to write a book?
Hell yeah.
Okay, so you were
yeah.
like looking for somebody to do this with.
I've been wanting to write a book. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
Since I was like a child.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I've always even when I was like, doing those stupid experiments with like healthier, whatever, when I'm 13, 14, I used to love writing menus. I love writing lists. Like I just love that stuff. So I'd always organize things with like appetizers and, whatever. I have a big fat Italian family. We would have 70 people for Thanksgiving. So I would my mom and I would make the menu. And like, that was just my whole childhood. So growing up, like a cookbook was like, oh, unbelievable. I just wanted one so bad. My Girl Scout troop made of like one of those like shitty compilation cookbooks where like everybody's mom like puts in some fucking like bullshit recipe and you sell it for like whatever to raise money. Like we did that too. So I was like, oh my God.
That's fucking awesome. Seasons of Greens.
Seasons of Greens. Now it's real. It's a real ass.
Damn. How long did it take you?
It like about 2 years.
Okay. Did you already have the recipes that you wanted kind of in mind?
Well, yes and no. So I change about half the menu every month at Greens. I have a huge, like crazy Excel spreadsheet. It's color coded. It's nuts. I can show it to you. It's like insane. But I do so much programming, like the collaborations and blah, blah, blah. I can't be in the middle of like Thanksgiving takeout with 200 fucking people trying to figure out what to replace the pizza with. Like, I don't know. It doesn't leave room for that creativity. So I do it now in January and I make my whole menu calendar for the year. So it turns out to be about 95 changes a year on the menu.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like a book right there. If I, go through all the changes. And I do repeat stuff, but not year over year. Usually like I'll give a gap year at least. So the book is a lot of the recipes that I've done over the last 4 or 5 years. Mostly since I was executive chef, maybe a couple things from when I was a sous chef. And, so that was helpful to write the table of contents, but there's also a lot of things as a high volume restaurant that I actually can't really execute on a day-to-day basis. Like for example, I order 100 pounds of pasta a week for my one pasta dish. So for me to make pasta in house, forget it. I'd need to hire a whole team of people to do that. It's way easier to outsource, and the pasta is delicious. We've been getting it from Phoenix Pastificio for probably forever. I don't know, maybe as long as it's been open. So for my cookbook, I have a pasta recipe on how to make basic pasta that you can cut into like linguine or whatever. I also have a recipe for gnocchi. I have recipes for, just like little things that I would never be able to do on my very high volume, very demanding menu. Sometimes I save those kind of high demand things for like holidays. Cause it's one day. I could deal with it for one day and then I could go back to my stuff that's, normal. But so the book is like, it's a lot of really cool recipes that really hone in on the seasons, obviously. That's what the whole book's about. But so you get a lot of things that you may have had on the menu at Greens the last few years that you want the recipe for. I do get a lot of recipe requests. And some of it might be some new stuff. But in the style of what I would do if I were at Greens. So yeah, it's a really nice mix.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. So they can find it anywhere books are sold, but they should get it on Omnivore. Yeah. And what's the date of?
April 22nd.
April 22nd.
I know, it's going to come before you know it.
I know. That's fucking... So how long ago did you finish it?
I submitted it last May.
Okay.
It's a long process. So it took me... So maybe it's almost 3 years, actually, because I didn't really know how to write a book at the time. So I did research. I found an agent. I did all the things that you have to do before then. Wrote a proposal, which is about 50 pages. Proposals are more like a business plan for your book rather than like content of the book. So it's like, who's your audience? What's your recent press? What's the book about? That kind of stuff. It's for the agent to pitch you it's a document that talks about you and a little bit of the book, but it's more of that marketing tool. So I spent like a good amount of time on that. Then once I got my contract with Weldon Owen, then I really wrote the book. That took about a year. And then once it's submitted, the mountain has been climbed, so they say. Like, the hard part really is the writing, but then you go through 4 rounds of edits. You pass it back and forth, and there's like lots of questions. Like, sometimes I would write an ingredient, but I wouldn't write it in the method. So then they're like, where does this go? Like, oh shoot, I forgot about that. Just add it with the dry ingredients. Like little things like that. So they catch everything. Then it goes through photography. So my photographer, Erin Scott, she's amazing. She's got a studio in Berkeley. She did such a good job. She's worked with a lot of cool people, like Terry Bryant too. She did his books, and like she's really cool. So she did all of my stuff in a studio. Lillian Kang was my food stylist. So yeah, I mean, it was just like the
you
fun
went
stuff.
hard.
Yeah. Well, it's a legit ass book, man.
That's true. I had a what the fuck's her name? Anna Voloshin on.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
And I was like, it hit me mid podcast. I'm like, she's an author. Like, and I'm like, sometimes I forget. I'm like, I'm having them on the show for a reason. These people are fucking dope, you know?
Yeah.
So damn, shout out to you, man. That's crazy.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool.
No, I mean, you're really doing it. You went to culinary school. You worked your way up at a restaurant, right? You are now the leader of that restaurant. You do collaborations, right? You're not just maintaining the food cost.
Yeah.
You're pushing the program forward and doing books, and you're interested and activated. And I think a lot of chefs go in and out of that. So for you to be doing it for so long is fucking dope. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that are going to draw some real inspiration from this.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, definitely they will. When you're not at Greens, where are you eating in the city?
Where am I eating in the
what
city?
are your favorites?
Oh my God. So my brother just came.
Yeah.
And so my brother's a lot younger than me. He's 24. This was the first time he really got to visit me besides coming out for the wedding. So I took him on the ultimate food tour. There was a lot that I didn't get to, but we ate freaking everywhere. We hit some classics. Like, we got pierogies at Cinderella Bakery. We got croissants from how do you pronounce it? Arsicot Bakery. Arsicot Bakery. Yeah, we went there. We went to Rentaro. So good. That was probably my favorite of the week. We hit 20 restaurants in a week. It was like sick.
Whoa.
We went to Hookfish. We went to Katonia. Gotta go to Katonia. Went to Greens, obviously.
Hey.
Went for brunch. Yeah. It was just, I really like to see what's new. I like to follow, who's hot and, in the Chronicle. And we have a lot of like chef friends too. So I also follow like the shared cultures train. Like whenever Elena's like, oh yeah, we're going to this new restaurant, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go try it. She always has like the coolest connections. So I always like to see which restaurants are supporting her. I just, try to get around as much as I can, but I live in Mill Valley, so and I work a lot, so I'm not always going out, but I try.
Trying to go back to the city you work at is hard.
It is hard sometimes, but I was really glad I had that week with my brother. So
fuck yeah, shout out to
really
him,
cool.
EMTing out there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So Green's Restaurant, how can people find it?
So we're located in Fort Mason Center. We're open Tuesday through Sunday. Yes, we're closed on Mondays. You can find us at Green's Restaurant on Instagram. You can find me at Chef Katie Reicher on Instagram and TikTok. And our website is greensrestaurant.com.
Fuck yeah. You're on TikTok too?
Yeah.
What do you like better, TikTok or Instagram?
Oh, I'm an Instagram girly.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I think it's more for the chefs. I think TikTok is more for chef creators. Yeah, like people who like cook at home. In 3 seconds. Look how I do this.
I'm trying really hard to get followers.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
On Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay. I understand where you're coming from.
I got a book to sell, baby.
I know. I did a lot of, I had a lot of people follow for a long time, and then it stopped at like, I was like 3,200 for a long time. And then it climbed, and I was at like 4,000 for like 4 years or something like that. Just recently, though, I put my first viral post up.
Oh, cool.
And 500 followers from this viral post.
Yeah.
So get a content creator.
Yeah, I should.
Give them access to you. Take video all the time. Give them access to your shit.
Yeah.
And you will get your followers.
Yeah.
Because that's what the whole time I was like, oh, well, should I pay for, to like promote things so they go out to the ether? But people got so much shit coming into their fucking face now. Like,
man. It's
like,
tough.
Even this podcast. That's why I'm like, no one listens to that. How are you going to listen to this? You got to listen to your mom. You got to listen to your dad. You got to fucking go to work. Listen to your boss. Like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, man. It's a lot. But
so
follow me.
Well, hell yeah. No, we will follow you. Get her some damn followers.
Yeah, man.
It's desperate out here. How many do you have right now?
Like 2,400.
2,400? Okay.
It's not bad.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. But I need like, I want to hit that 10K. Man.
You want that 10K? Give me that 10K.
Even like 5,000. Like, give me 5,000. I'll take it.
Some people are like, oh, it's not important, and it's really not. But do you see the way people light up when they're like talking about someone? They're like, they have this many followers.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally part of the fucking description.
Yeah.
And I don't care what nobody says. It gives you some sort of, like, oh, let me pay attention to this person. Do you have your profile set to chef?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I set mine to public figure.
Oh.
And it works better. It depends what you post. I don't post a lot of food shit. I post podcast stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So that's why I was fucking up. Like I posted some chef content and I went viral, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So now maybe if I put it to public figure, put this shit on it.
Yeah.
It'll grow.
Yeah, right.
But then I'm like, what is it? What does this matter?
Yeah.
I'm like, I
don't know. Like my publicist team is like, they're like telling me I need to get more followers and stay consistent. And
aren't they supposed to do that?
They do. I know. Yeah. You would think. No, they do like more traditional media, not really social media. I think that's kind of seen as like a separate thing. So they work on like broadcast, podcast, like magazines, print media, like that sort of stuff.
What is it called?
I'm with Postcard PR.
Okay.
They're also local. They're amazing. They just worked on I think their last cookbook before me was Tender Heart by Hetty McKinnon. She just won a James Beard for that cookbook. So love them. They're doing a great job. But yeah, I think social media comes into play as kind of like I help you, you help me. Like, like maybe you'll get, I don't know, maybe you'll get like, you'll land in a print media over somebody else because you have a bigger audience.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that I'm nobody. Like I'm running a very famous vegetarian restaurant. Like maybe the Greens name carries me more than, my social media.
Right.
But I think social media can help with maybe like getting some press land.
Definitely. Yeah. I think, you're good at doing collabs. Maybe you should take Greens on the road, because
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I can't sit still. Like you,
you're a chef.
I know. Like we all have ADHD, right?
Exactly.
So people ask to open other Greens locations all the time, constantly. Like I get like LinkedIn notifications, I get emails. It's like everybody wants Greens to open a second location. LA, New York, East Coast, all over the place. We're not quite there yet because like I said, like, funding is a constraint at Greens. We don't really have like investors that could help open second, whatever locations. But I was actually thinking, I was like looking on Craigslist for like these little carts, and I was like, how can we like maybe maybe we could just go to the farmer's market or like do something small. And
you definitely can.
And then I kind of landed on, this is like, I'm telling a secret right now to everybody, that I was thinking of maybe even like opening up a little sister concept within Greens, like as a ghost kitchen.
Yeah.
Just for like takeout and delivery, just to like prove the concept. And then maybe that's like my way to, that revenue stays in its own little bank account, a little pocket that I could, save it up and use that for, opening the concept, expanding. I have a big dining room renovation project that I'm working on. That's also kind of secret, but so those are some projects that I'm working on first. So Little Sister Greens might happen in the next few years. Give me some time, but it is something that I'm thinking about for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. That's mostly because I, again, can't sit still and I need to always be doing something. Yeah.
So we're going to get you followers and we're going to get you some funding. Yes. Okay. And we're going to make this shit happen.
Give me money.
Because, dude, New York City needs a Greens, I think.
Yeah. You know what? If New York has a Greens, that means I could go home and visit my mom.
That's what I'm saying. It makes sense. I mean, the fact that,
Right. Yeah.
Write that in your business plan, and my mom lives there.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, of course, $500,000, give it to her.
That really appeals to the emotional side.
That's what I'm saying. Some investors are emotional. You know what I mean? They're like, I need something to cry about. I'm bored.
I'm gonna give this bitch a restaurant.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. There is a lot more people out there willing to give people fucking restaurants than ever before, I think. Just because people just want to own a restaurant nowadays. And those are the best people, to open with. Don't be trying to open with, unless you're opening it yourself.
Yeah.
An investor who just got hey man, I'm going to put 20 grand into this and we're going to do it. You're not going to get there.
Sure. Yeah.
You better have 5 million behind that. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Goes quick.
Totally does.
Well, fuck yeah. Chef Katie, thank you so much.
Yeah,
for
my
being
pleasure.
On the show,
thank you.
Making the trip up here from Mill Valley.
Yeah.
Damn. Sorry to make you drive.
No, it's all good.
Shout out Kevin Gondo. Shout out Shared Cultures. Shout out Green's Restaurant. Shout out Chef Katie. I'll have you on when you open Little Greens.
Yeah, okay.
And also, I'm going to hit up your restaurant soon.
Yay, please do.
Shit. Hell yeah. Peace out. Sucio Talk.
All right.
Boom. We did it.
We did it. Thank you so much. That was so fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have so much shit to talk about. I didn't realize how much stuff I had to say.
Sometimes,